Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to go back to my Vauxhall Astra, the Saab conversion. Going to explain a wee bit more about the car in depth. Just recently I had a question in a comment underneath that video from Emil Svensson. It read, I have a few questions now. Did you use the Saab gearbox? Does the CV axles fit or drive shafts fit from the Saab, or did you make custom ones? What engine management system are you running that works with the stock gauge cluster or clocks? What engine mounts did you use? And now that I say it's possible to fit a different engine in the car, I want to do this to an Astra of my own. So let's go into a bit of depth today, explain what parts I've used, where, and how it's all possible. So the Astra G platform is by far and away one of the easiest platforms to do the Saab B204 conversion to. This is why I chose it. This car itself only cost me £200 to start off with. It shares the same platform as the Saphira A. These cars were made somewhere between 1998, I believe, and some of them even run right up to 2005. The 2005 ones though mostly are the convertibles. They seem to just stretch that wee bit further on, probably because the sales aren't in high demand. You know, that car, the convertible's not in high demand. One thing to note is when you're going to do this conversion, always try and buy a big block car. What I mean by big block car, 1.8 or 1800cc upwards. That means you're getting the 5-stud hubs straight off the bat. That makes it a lot easier to do the conversion. Also bigger gearbox, and some of them works anyway. So let's go open the bonnet, show you around, show you a bit more in detail. So here's the engine you're looking for, guys. This is the Saab Red Top or B204 or 234 motor. This is found in Saab 9000s, Saab 93 and 900s. Be careful not to get the B205 or 235 engine, because a lot of times this will not work. It's not compatible and it's not as strong an engine. Some people claim that the pistons and the conrods in this engine are forged. It's not true. They are just very high quality, strong parts. So let's come down a wee bit closer and show you around so you can identify the 234 or the 204 engine. So here we go. When you're looking at one of these Saab engines, or you're looking for your Saab engine, the big telltale is the oil cap. Watch where the oil cap is. On the 205, the oil cap is offset to the left and slightly back, somewhere around here. This tells you it's a 205. Steer clear if you can. Nice and central, tight to the rocker cover, tells you it's a B204. That's the one you want. So you've bought your Saab, and now one thing I would say is buy a complete Saab, buy a complete car. There was stuff on that car that I found I needed that I didn't know prior to starting the conversion. So how do you get the B204 engine into your Astra? Well, there is a Facebook group called Saabworks. It's a group of guys, a group of people, collective, who put Saab engines into nearly everything. There's BMW drift cars, there's rat rods, Peugeot 206s, everything. They seem to be just popping them into all sorts nowadays, but that group helped me quite a lot. It had a full walkthrough and all the information that I needed to do the conversion. There was also a guy on there called Andrew Crank of Crankworks. He supplies kits that help you install the engine into the car. They come with a wiring harness, engine mount over here on this side, a belt for what length of auxiliary or alternator belt you need. So let's have a look at the engine mounts first of all and see how it actually fits in. So let's start on the engine side. So here we see on top of the chassis leg the original Astra mount. You can see that there is the Crankworks mount on this engine, which braces right round front and back of the engine. The one thing you'll notice is that the power steering pump is removed. That's because the Astra G uses an electronic pump. And there's no requirement for the hydraulic pump from the Saab. Down in at the front here is a 2-litre turbo mount, which can be found on the SRI GSI models. That's the front of the gearbox to the subframe. The other mounts left are the gearbox mounts, and that can move us on to the gearbox. The gearbox is an F23 gearbox, and this car particularly is out of a diesel Zafira 2-litre DTI, which is a Y20 DTH engine, I believe. You can also use the 5-speed gearbox from the GSI Turbo, which a lot of people prefer. The mounts themselves are transferred over from the 2-litre diesel car also. So on to the drive shafts. The drive shafts used, as you can see, are the actual Saab items. They come straight out of the 9.3 and slot straight into the F23 gearbox, and then straight into the hubs on the Astra as well. The only difference with the drive shafts is the right hand drive shaft, or driver's side in the UK. This requires a spacer or a washer to space it away from the hub so that the CV joint does not foul the ABS sensor, if memory serves me right. So let's talk ECUs. Just over my shoulder here, the Saab ECU is mounted to the bulkhead of the car. Also hanging off that ECU is the original Astra engine ECU. That has to stay in place to control the coolant temperature and the fan switch. The ECU, the Saab ECU here, has been to Andrew Crank of Crankworks. It has been unlocked, it's been remapped and upgraded to T7 to support T7. Which is the variable, I believe it's the variable boost control. It found in later Saab 9.3s. Pigeons, do your head in. And you're probably wondering how those two ECUs talk to the rest of the car and to each other. Well, here, mounted nicely in the fuse box, or the relay box, is the Crankworks loom conversion. It's got the relays and the fuses all built in, and it fits nice and neatly in that wee relay box. So other notable parts needed for this conversion. The accelerator pedal needs to be changed from fly-by-wire to a cable operation, as this engine uses a standard spring butterfly rather than fly-by-wire electronic throttle body. Another thing is the clutch bearing on certain models. Depending whether it's a dual mass flywheel engine, you've got the gearbox off. As I say, this gearbox is the F23 variant. It came off a diesel, a 2-litre diesel, which had a dual mass flywheel. If that car has a dual mass flywheel, you require a spacer for the slave cylinder, the hydraulic bearing at the clutch. This came from, I can't recall the guy's name, but he's on the Saabworks group anyway, and you can buy these spacers, which are billet aluminium. A really good high quality part. Other things to note is the exhaust. You'll need a custom exhaust, custom downpipe. There's nothing on the market as far as I know that you can just buy and bolt on. Also, the cooling in the front of the car, it's quite tight and quite well packed in the front of the car. You're going to need an oil cooler, you're going to need a front mount intercooler, and you're also going to need a radiator. Radiator wise, I believe this one I bought is a 1.7 DTI CDTI radiator from a Mark V Astra H. Here's a quick way of telling the F23 gearbox. Reverse is across to the right hand side beside fourth gear. And another notable thing is you will need the selector cables to go along with the F23 gearbox. Just discovered some pretty terminal rot. This is not the way I want to end this video. This is what happens when you run out of money halfway through your project and the car lies in the driveway. Maybe a different case in warmer climates where cars don't rot just like they do in Northern Ireland, but I think I'm going to have to admit defeat with a shell. I'll cut to it now. I'll show you what I found. It's as I was putting the fuel canister in to top it up with fuel, to let it run for a wee minute. As I put the canister into the filler neck decided it didn't want to be part of the Astra anymore. Yeah, it's bad. Something worth checking out in your SGs, Mark IV Astras too, because it seems that's pretty bad rot. But you might see over here, I do have another Astra. It's in a lot better nick body wise. So maybe this engine will end up in that car. Who knows? Maybe this engine will end up in a completely different car. I've said for a while I've wanted a rear-wheel drive B204 of some description, so yeah, this could turn into an MX-5 very quickly with a 400 horsepower B204. But hey, who knows? I'll call it there, guys. I'll not bore you anymore. Till next time, hold her flat.